am actually heading back to Florida to run the Walt Disney World Marathon in about 4 weeks' time. I'm not sure that I've talked about it too much yet, but I have been training and I definitely feel more prepared than I was the last time I did the marathon. But you know, it's still a marathon. And you know, I'm not like, I wouldn't consider myself a very seasoned runner. Like I definitely I don't take it too seriously, you know, and I definitely don't train as much as a lot of people that do like running more regularly. It's definitely a really huge challenge for me. It's going to be super tough. I am nervous. I am kind of anxious a little bit too, but I am very excited. I know that I can do it, like I've done it before, even though it was very tough, but there's something about it, like I can't describe the feeling of just challenging yourself right to what you feel like is like even beyond your limit, not even right to your limit, like beyond your limit. It's such a rewarding feeling, and I just crave that high of the feeling that I felt when I crossed that finish line. As you can see, I've actually got a suitcase behind me now. I'm kind of like double packing right now because I go home to Ireland and I'm in Ireland for 2 weeks or two and a bit weeks, and then I come back and I literally have a day and a night. So I have like 2 sleeps. So basically just 1 full day back in London before I head out to Florida. So I'm kind of trying to get myself organized for Florida behind me, Ireland over here. There's kind of stuff everywhere. I've actually got the day off work today, which is nice. So I have just been kind of like organizing and getting myself sorted. Puma is very keen for snuggles today. I think it's because my jumper is super soft. But definitely as the weather's been colder, he's been more interested in literally sitting on me. Come on then. He loves to just like come and just like plonk his butt on my lap and sit. He'll do this when I'm sat at my desk and stuff as well, which, as you can imagine, it makes it a little bit hard to be super productive. I've got my coffee with my little gingerbread man. If you didn't see my vlog yesterday, sorry, I'm like so afraid the little man's gonna fly away. I did drop one of them and yeah, broke him. But yeah, I got this in M&S. I actually did a little shop with me vlog yesterday in M&S if you missed that, and they still had them. Only £2 I think for like the whole pack of them. And I've actually been really enjoying it. So I have found myself over the last week or so really reflecting on last year's marathon. I'm kind of trying to work out, you know, what went right and what went wrong, etc. So I can obviously change those things this year. I've actually got my Christmas Starbucks cup here. I got this in the Character Warehouse. I think it was like $10. But I love it. It's really cute, but it's kind of, I was going to say it's subtle. It is not like... but it's subtle Disney, I guess. Like, so one thing that actually didn't go well for me last year, well, this year, but last marathon, was the arrival and preparation at the actual event itself before we set off. So I thought I had got there quite early. Like I did get there early, but you do have to get there quite early for Run Disney races. And I had to park quite far away, so I had a decent walk on top of the already long walk that you have the morning of the Run Disney races. If you haven't done one before, just be aware that you will get a lot of steps in before you even set off on the race. And so I think I got like 4,000 steps just going from my car to like where the starting line was. And so that took a lot of time. And like I met a friend, we literally just went to the bathroom, had a quick chat, and then the corrals had opened. Got to the corral, and obviously the corrals are huge. I was by myself, which was my first time ever experiencing a big run like that by myself. So I think I was maybe like a little bit overwhelmed by that as well. And obviously a lot of people are like in their groups and stuff and chatting and things. And I hadn't put my bib on yet. And I'd actually purchased magnetic like things to put my bib on with, and of course I go to put the bib on, drop one of the magnets, like these tiny little magnets. So I'm there trying to look for the magnet. A few people helped me out, found the little magnets. So I'm kind of like already super flustered. I've not got like my bits and pieces in the right places in terms of like putting things in my running belt and stuff, like have my phone in my hand, like all this sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden like the race is already starting, and actually as soon as the race started, even though it wasn't my corral, the corral kind of pushed forward because we were like obviously moving up closer to the start line. And so I was kind of just like a bit all over the place, and that really like kind of I don't know, just set me off on a bad footing right at the start. Definitely this year, I'm just going to get there a bit earlier. I'm going to get to the corral earlier, and I'm going to arrive ready to run. Which kind of seems like something that would be obvious, but it's really not. Like, if you're getting there and you're kind of eating a bit of food and, you know, you've got your phone out and, like, I don't know, maybe you haven't got your earphones in yet and you're going to the bathroom and all this sort of stuff, like you're just not situated to start running. So that's definitely something I want to change this year, and just have a bit of a more calm morning before I actually set off, having like my watch ready to go, like all those sorts of things that I would normally do when I have that bit of time in the corral. I'm just going to have it done before I get there, and then I am going to try and get there a bit earlier than last time, because like I say, the time just like disappeared, and all of a sudden we were on the go, and I was kind of a bit like, we're already going. And then I'd say like another thing that I did that was a bit silly was I tried to take a filming gimbal with me that I had never run with before, which is just, I mean, it's one of like the biggest tips that you always get is like, don't try something new on race day. And although the gimbal is great, my sister actually got it for me. It was I'm pretty sure it was a Christmas present, which is probably why I hadn't used it before, because it was new. And I had used it before, as in like I'd been using it on the trip, but I just hadn't run with it before. And actually, because my phone is quite heavy, and because I have the Plus phone, and you know, I'm running, so it's a lot of impact, the gimbal wasn't really able to cope with that kind of movement. And so I ended up kind of like carrying a piece of equipment that not only was I like, I guess, not getting good use out of, but when I was using it, it was like frustrating me, and it was just like an extra added frustration I shouldn't have put in the mix for the day. And like, you know, having anything extra in your belt for however many hours you're going to be running for is just not ideal. So that was definitely a mistake on my part. The second issue that I had was actually with monitoring my pace. So there is a 16-minute mile pace requirement in all of the Run Disney events, which sounds okay, but like when you're in Florida and it's hotter and there's characters to stop for and roller coasters to go on, you'd just be surprised like how much of a hit your pace will take. And so I had my Garmin watch on, and my Garmin watch was telling me what my pace was. And I think I was just paying a little bit too much attention to that, because your pace on your watch is not necessarily your pace on the course. And that is because you're always going to end up doing more miles per your watch, or more like distance per your watch, hopefully not too many more miles, versus what you're actually doing on the course and on the clock. And that's because, you know, the course distance is measured pretty much on like the tightest line, so that the minimum distance that you will do when you complete a marathon is the 26.2. But, you know, if you're weaving around people, if you're taking off to get a character stop, if you're popping to the bathroom, like all these other things, pulling over to get your water, pulling back on, you're just adding to your distance constantly. And so although my pace on my watch per the miles that my watch is saying that I have done might be, you know, 15 or 14 or whatever, like well under the 16, I might actually not be on that pace per how quickly I'm getting through the miles on the actual course. And so I think I felt a little bit safer than I actually was in terms of what my pace was. I knew last year that I was going to be in a position where I was just trying to stay ahead of the balloon ladies, which they're called. The balloon ladies kind of like are at the back of the pack and do that 16-minute mile pace. So you basically need to stay ahead of the balloon ladies to not get swept on the course. And that was just my goal. Stay ahead of the balloon ladies, but hopefully still get to have a bit of fun, get a few photos, go on Everest if possible. Like Everest was kind of like an A goal, you know, if I can get on Everest, if I can get to Everest and feel comfortable to take the time to go on Everest, I'm doing really well. So yeah, I think a big mistake that I made was actually feeling like I was doing better than I was, really, by just paying too much attention to my watch and not enough attention to actually my clock time between miles. So yeah, that was just something that yeah, definitely this year I'm going to do better at. So this year now I am going to really just pay attention to the clock time between the 2 miles, because that's going to tell me how long it took me to get from 1 mile to the next, versus focusing. Now, like the watch pace time is still going to be super helpful. I'm definitely going to use it, but I'm just not going to place as much emphasis on that and make sure that I'm really paying attention to the clock time in between the miles. And that kind of led me on to what was my biggest mistake. Well, was it? I made 2 big mistakes. and they both have to do with Everest. So the first big mistake that I made is that I got to Animal Kingdom, which is, I think, past halfway now. Like, yeah, I think it's definitely past halfway now. My watch was telling me good things. I was feeling good, and I was coming up towards Everest. I remember stopping for a picture with Everest in the background and thinking, you know what, checking my time, like knowing, you know, what the balloon ladies are doing, and being like, you know what, I've got this. Like, I am gonna go on Everest, and I'm so chill about it. I've definitely got plenty of time. Went on Everest, left my visor in the Everest car, which I noticed only when I'd run off, and I'd maybe only run off like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, turned around, came back, but had to wait there probably a good, I mean, it felt like forever, but it must have been a good like 4 minutes. So I'm waiting there like to get my visor. Now I could have just left it, obviously, but the sun had come out. Like, I just knew that visor was going to be really important for me later on when I'm, you know, going down a big open road with the sun in my face. Like, I just really wanted the visor. The last thing I wanted was to have the sun in my face and my eyes heating me up, but also like to get sunburnt or something just because I didn't have the visor. So I went back and waited. That was such a costly mistake in terms of time. But still, I was like, do you know what? I'm still okay. I'm still grand. I'm going to get going. So I get going, and then I get to the next mile marker, and my heart dropped because I had thought that I had already passed this mile marker. So I thought I was in between like the next 2 miles and not the 2 miles that I was in between. So I essentially was a whole mile behind where I thought I was. I then just lost 5 minutes, probably, like maybe not even, maybe like 3 to 4 minutes extra waiting on my visor. And I'd gone on Everest, which obviously takes time as well. So at that point I was like, oh no. I am really cutting it fine now to actually like maintain the pace that I've been doing, which, you know, wasn't really my best. Like, I wasn't moving super quick. The sun was now out, and I was just like, oh no, what have I done? Like, I've really put myself in a pretty tight situation now to actually be able to stay ahead of the balloon ladies and to not get swept on the course. So that was definitely two of my biggest mistakes. Not knowing what mile I was at and leaving my visor on Everest. I definitely won't be making those mistakes again. And that's actually when I came to what was really a bit of a saving grace for me. And it's something that, again, was kind of a mistake, and that I wish I had paid more attention to it before the run. And that is the pacers that they have in the different corrals. So as I left Animal Kingdom and came out onto Osceola Parkway, I think it was Osceola Parkway, I don't know, it was a big road anyway. I think it's usually Osceola Parkway, but it was actually the road between Animal Kingdom and Blizzard Beach. And it was a big wide road, and the sun was blasting down, and I was so hot, and I was stressing now. And then I hear like one of the pacing groups coming behind me, and they, I think, might have been like the 6 hour, 30-minute pacing group. And they were probably in a corral that was behind me. So like I'm probably on like a slower time than 6:30 at this stage, or slower trajectory. And I just hear the girl that was leading that pacing group, and she's like, and we're running. And then, you know, obviously the whole group starts running, and it was a really short interval. I think it was like 15 seconds run, 30 seconds walk. And I was like, I can do 15 seconds. I'm just going to tag onto this group. And I did, and I stuck with them the whole way up that big stretch of road. And it actually saved me, because I was so done in that moment. Like, I was really struggling, and having that pacer group pick me up just made like such a difference. And I wish I'd actually known at the start a bit more about the pacing groups. They're not official pacing groups. They're actually, it's like the Jeff Galloway running group, I think, that does it. I kind of wish I just had known a bit more about it and had maybe tried to pick up pacing groups, you know, earlier on in the run. I think I would have done a lot better, and because it definitely would have kept me a little bit more accountable to making sure I was getting my run walk splits in, because honestly I didn't do a great job at sticking to any sort of defined run walk split on the marathon last year. So I stuck with them for a good while, and that was a saving grace. So for this run, I actually am going to make sure that I check in advance and see what pacing groups are in what corrals, and also what interval splits they're doing. And I actually think, from looking at previous races, I already kind of know like where I'm going to be, what pacing group I want to pick up, and what interval split they're going to be doing. And that's how I've been training. So with like the same interval split, which
I'm hoping is going to work out for me. But you can easily like pick up and drop pacing groups. You know, if you're struggling with one, you can wait and another one will probably pick you up like very shortly after if you want to join with them. So that's definitely something I wish I knew a lot more about, especially as a solo runner, because I am used to running with my dad and my sister, and my dad is like, he is just the Mr. Motivation. Like when it comes to the runs, he's the one that's like, come on, you got this, we have to run, come on, let's go. Like, and you know, that was actually a big part of the challenge last year, was doing it by myself, because mentally that was a really tough challenge for me. Oh my gosh, I actually like feel emotional. It's so weird. Like, it's so funny how like running like and doing events like this can just like make you emotional. But yeah, it was such a big challenge for me to do it by myself and to get over the mental doubt, which like I don't even know like how successful I was with that, because I had a lot of doubt and I definitely could have done better than I did on the day, do you know what I mean? But the big thing that was like my goal, I said it was Everest, but you know, my overall goal, I guess, was that I would actually enjoy myself. And I have to say, even with the like ups and downs that I had, I enjoyed that run. I decided from the moment I crossed that finish line that I was going to come back the year after. So that says a lot, and I'm hoping that I can even improve on that this year and enjoy it even more. Yeah, that's what the plan is, I guess. And that's a bit of reflection on last year. I'd be so interested to know if any of you have ever thought about doing a Run Disney race. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. So I think I've probably chatted far too long about running and Run Disney, but I hope I don't know, maybe it's been interesting, even if it's not something that you yourself would be interested in doing. And I will include kind of like how I'm getting on with the training and stuff in the vlogs as we go on through the rest of Vlogmas. And then obviously I'm gonna have a Florida trip to take you guys on as well, but you know, big part of that being the marathon, which I'm just so excited for. Certainly nervous, but definitely excitement is like the number one feeling, the one that's breaking through the most. I am actually really excited for the day. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.